reproduction, but they are not directly involved in sexual reproduction. Whereas the other two whorls that are found inner to calyx and corolla, which are those whorls? They are andrecium and gynoecium. They are considered as essential whorls because they have the male reproductive unit as well as female reproductive unit, and they are involved in sexual reproduction of a flower. Okay? But in certain flowers, for example, flowers of lily. Flowers of lily doesn't have four whorls. Most of the flowers have got four whorls: calyx, corolla, andrecium and gynoecium. But there are certain flowers, for example, as I mentioned, the lily flower. Lily flower has got only three whorls. So here in such flowers, the outer two whorls, that is calyx and corolla, they are united together. So you know that calyx and corolla comprises of sepals and petals. So sepal and petal is united to form a single structure that is known as tepal, and many tepals are arranged in a whorl, and the whorl is named as perianth. Okay. So this is perianth as well as tepals are seen only in some of the flowers. As example, lily flowers. So they will be having usually three whorls. Instead of four whorls, they will be having only three whorls. So outer whorl will be perianth, the next whorl will be andrecium, and the next whorl will be gynoecium. So as I mentioned earlier, andrecium and gynoecium, they are the essential whorls, okay, because they are directly involved in sexual reproduction. And we can also categorize flowers into two types based on the number of whorls that are present in a flower. So if a flower has got all the four whorls, such a flower can be termed as complete flower. If the flower lacks any one of the whorl, it is termed as incomplete flower. Okay. So based on the number of whorls present in a flower, flower can be categorized into complete and incomplete flower. And coming to the reproductive, based on the reproductive units present in a flower. If a flower has got both the reproductive units, that is male as well as female reproductive unit, or if the flower has both stamen as well as carpel, it is termed as bisexual flower. Or if the flower has got either the stamen or the carpel, then it is termed as unisexual flower. Now, flower can also be described based on the symmetry of a flower. Okay. So, flower can be categorized into two types based on their symmetry. So, they are actinomorphic flower as well as zygomorphic flower. Actinomorphic flower are those flowers, if a flower is divided by any of the vertical plane, they will give two equal halves. So such a flower which gives two equal halves, if it is divided in any of the plane, then such a flower is known as actinomorphic flower. Example for actinomorphic flower is mustard. Okay. So it is almost similar to radial symmetry of animals. In radial symmetry, any of the plane, if you divide the organism, it gives two equal halves. Same way, the flower, if it is divided in any of the plane, it gives two equal halves, and that is known as actinomorphic flower. In case of zygomorphic flower, the flower can be divided into two equal halves only in a single plane, or only in one vertical direction or one vertical division, it gives two equal halves. So such a flower which gives two equal halves only in a single plane, it is known as zygomorphic flower. So best example for zygomorphic flower is pea flower or flowers of tulsi plant or ocimum flowers. So this is the structure of a typical flower which shows all the whorls, and these are the different whorls. The outer whorl is calyx made up of sepals. The inner whorl, second whorl is corolla, which comprises of units known as petals. The third whorl is andrecium, which consists of stamens, and the innermost whorl is gynoecium, which consists of carpel. So next we will see aestivation. What is aestivation? So this is a new terminology for you. Just remember aestivation. So aestivation is arrangement of sepals or the petals in a flower with respect to one another. Okay, arrangement of sepal to sepal or arrangement of petal to petal, especially in the floral buds. So when you observe the floral bud, you can just see the petals are arranged in a definite order, or sepals will be arranged in a specific order, and that order of arrangement will not be the same in different floral buds. It varies from one bud to another bud, or one species to another species. So such an arrangement of sepals and petals with respect to one another in a floral bud is termed as aestivation. So generally there are 4 kinds of aestivation. So we'll go through different types of aestivation now. First we'll see what is valvate aestivation. So valvate aestivation is arrangement of sepals or petals in such a way that they just touch each other but they do not overlap with each other. So such an arrangement of sepals and petals where there is no overlapping of sepals or petals is known as valvate aestivation. Okay. So next we will see what is twisted aestivation. In twisted aestivation, the sepals or petals are arranged in such a way that they will overlap with each other. At least in one edge they will be overlapping with each other. So such a arrangement of sepals or petals is known as twisted aestivation. Okay, so twisted aestivation is seen in the flower of lady's finger plant. Okay, whereas valvate aestivation is seen in flowers of plant named Calotropis. Calotropis is the common plant which we commonly call in Kannada as Ekka plant, which is a medicinal plant, that is termed as Calotropis. So in such flower there is valvate aestivation of arrangement of sepals as well as petals. So next we will see one more kind of aestivation, that is imbricate aestivation. So in imbricate aestivation, the margins of sepals or the petals, they will be overlapping with each other but not in a definite order or not in a particular direction. Okay. In twisted, the sepals or petals will be overlapped in a definite order, but in imbricate there is overlapping of sepals or overlapping of petals, but it is not in a definite order or not in a particular order. So this is termed as imbricate aestivation. So next we will see what is vexillary aestivation. In vexillary aestivation, or vexillary aestivation is seen only in some of the flowers belonging to particular family. Especially example for this is pea flower, flowers of pea plant. Usually they have got only 5 petals, and among those 5 petals, all the 5 petals are not of the same size. They are of different size. Okay. So in vexillary aestivation, the flower has got 5 petals and there is a single large petal. We usually call it as standard petal, and that single large petal overlaps 2 petals on the lateral side, and they are termed as lateral petals, and these 2 lateral petals again overlap 2 small petals, and they are termed as keel petals. So in vexillary aestivation, flower has got 5 petals and those 5 petals are of different size. There is 1 standard petal, 2 lateral petals as well as 2 keel petals. Okay. So such an arrangement of sepals or petals in a flower is known as vexillary aestivation. So we have discussed about 4 different kinds of aestivation. They are valvate, twisted, imbricate as well as vexillary aestivation. So these are the images of different types of aestivation. Valvate, where the petals are not overlapped. Twisted, where petals are overlapped in a definite order. Imbricate, there is overlapping but it is not in a definite order. Vexillary, where there are 5 petals, 1 standard petal, 2 lateral petals and 2 small petals named keel petals. Now let us discuss on the part of the plant body, that is fruit. So fruit is usually defined as a ripened ovary. You know that in a flower there is a part known as ovary, and ovary is a part of a carpel. Carpel is the female reproductive unit. Carpel has 3 distinct parts. They are ovary, style and stigma. The ovary will ripen to form a part of a plant body known as fruit. So ripened ovary is a fruit. So fruit has got a wall or fruit wall which is termed as pericarp. The fruit wall is termed as pericarp. Okay. So pericarp may be thick or they may be thin, or they may be fleshy or they may be dry. So if the pericarp is thick and fleshy, they can be categorized into three different layers. The outermost layer is known as epicarp, middle layer is known as mesocarp, and the inner layer is known as endocarp. So if the fruit wall or pericarp is thick and fleshy, it can be categorized into three different layers. For example, in case of mango, you have seen the mango fruit. In mango fruit, and even you have seen the coconut. So there are three different layers of fruit wall. In mango, for example, the outer wall, that is the green covering of the fruit, that is the fruit wall, the green part of the fruit, which turns into yellowish or orange when the fruit ripens, that is the epicarp, that is outermost layer. And within that outer layer, epicarp, the fleshy, juicy, edible portion of the fruit is the mesocarp, and inner hard covering around the seed, that is the endocarp. Okay. So fruit wall is differentiated into three layers: outer epicarp, middle mesocarp, as well as inner endocarp. So next we will just glance the summary of the chapters. Here we come across various terminology. Just note down these terminologies as well as its definition. So flowering plants exhibit enormous variation in shape, size, structure, their mode of nutrition, lifespan, habitat, as well as habit. Habitat is a dwelling place of the plant. So plants have got well developed root system as well as shoot system. Generally, the dicotyledonous plants have taproot system, and monocotyledonous plants have got fibrous root system. And the roots in plants will perform general function. In addition to the general function, they can also perform modified function or specialized function only if the root is modified. So those specialized functions are storage of food, providing mechanical support or additional support to the plant body, as well as they help in respiration. Next, coming to the shoot system. Shoot system is differentiated into stem, leaves, flowers, as well as fruits. Morphologically, the stem shows nodes as well as internodes, and usually the leaves arise in the nodes and leaves do not arise in the internodes. Between two nodes, the axis is termed as internodes. Stems have certain general functions to perform. In addition to that, they can also perform some specialized functions like storage of food, vegetative propagation, protection, etc. Now, leaves. Leaves are the lateral outgrowths of the stem, which is usually green in color due to the presence of a pigment named chlorophyll, and their main function is to perform the function of photosynthesis as well as to synthesize photosynthates of the food. And the food that is synthesized is glucose. We have studied in class 10 that the plants undergo a unique feature, that is photosynthesis, where it utilizes carbon dioxide as well as water. With the help of carbon dioxide and water in presence of sunlight as well as chlorophyll, glucose will be synthesized. The glucose is nothing but the photosynthates, and they are stored in the form of starch. Okay. And leaves can also perform some modified functions or specialized functions like giving support in the form of tendrils and providing defense in the form of spines, and then they are also used for storage of food, especially in case of onion. Next, flowers. Many flowers are arranged on the floral axis to form inflorescence, and there are different kinds of inflorescence. The two kinds of inflorescence that we have studied are racemose inflorescence as well as cymose inflorescence. And flowers exhibit various variations, especially in structure, in symmetry, in the position of their ovary as well as in the arrangement of sepals, petals as well as ovules. And you know that the parts of a flower after fertilization, certain parts of the flowers like ovules are transformed into seeds, whereas the ovary will be converted into fruit. So just go through this important terminologies and remember these points. Auxiliary buds. The buds that arise in the axil of a leaf is known as auxiliary bud. Adventitious roots. So we have already discussed about two kinds of root system, that is taproot as well as fibrous root system. But in certain plants, few of the plants have got one more type of root system, that is known as adventitious root. So these adventitious roots are those roots that arise from any part of the plant body other than the radicle. Okay. So such roots are seen in banyan tree. In banyan tree, roots arise from the stem or the branch. So that is an adventitious root. Bisexual flower. Flowers having both male and female reproductive part is known as bisexual flower. And unisexual flower, the flower that lacks any of the reproductive unit, whether it may possess carpel or it may possess stamen, either stamen or carpel, then it is known as unisexual flower. Bract. Bract is a small leaf that arises in the axil of the flower or axil of the inflorescence. Very small leaf-like appendages that arise in the axil of a flower. Bud. Bud is a compact underdeveloped shoot or underdeveloped stem which mainly has very shortened or condensed stem as well as floral parts. Cotyledon. The first leaf of the embryo is termed as cotyledon. Its structure is very simple and it usually stores reserve food material. Compound leaf. The leaf lamina, that is fully broken and forms many segments, and what do we call those segments? As leaflets. So if a leaf has got many leaflets, then it is termed as compound leaf. Dicotyledons. The seeds having two cotyledons is known as dicotyledon, and a seed having only one cotyledon is known as monocotyledon. Dry fruit. A fruit that has got dry pericarp is termed as dry fruit. Okay. So we have taken the example of fleshy fruit, where the fruit has got, or the pericarp is thick, fleshy, and it is differentiated into three layers. But there are certain fruits which are called as dry fruits, and in dry fruit usually the pericarp or the fruit wall will be dry. Epiphytes. Epiphytes are the plants which grow on the other plants, but they do not take nutrition from them. They just grow on the other plant, but they will not take up the nutrition. Example, orchids. Epicalyx. So you have studied about calyx, but you should remember that there are certain flowers. Some of the flowers where outer to the calyx there will be one more whorl known as epicalyx. So this epicalyx has got small green leaf-like appendages found outer to the sepals. So such kind of epicalyx is seen in hibiscus flowers. So you can just take the hibiscus flowers today and then you can observe various whorls. So hibiscus flower has got 5 whorls: epicalyx, calyx, corolla, androecium as well as dionysium. Epicarp. Outer layer of the fruit wall is termed as epicarp. Middle layer is termed as mesocarp and inner layer is termed as endocarp. Endospermic seed. Seed in which food is stored in the form of endosperm is known as endospermic seed. Then what can we consider a seed which do not have endosperm? It is termed as non-endospermic. So seeds can be endospermic or non-endospermic. Flower. Flower is a modified shoot that is meant for sexual reproduction. False fruit. So you might be just imagining whether there is a fruit called false fruit. Yes, there is a fruit called false fruit, where a fruit in which any other part of the flower, if it is involved in fruit formation other than ovary, even ovary is involved in fruit formation, other than ovary, if any other parts of the flower, if it is involved in fruit formation, then it is termed as false fruit. Okay, for example, cashew fruit. You might have seen cashew fruit. It is a false fruit. apple is a false fruit. Here in both cashew as well as apple, the thalamus of the flower is involved in fruit formation in addition to ovary. So it is termed as false fruit. Okay. Herb. Herb refers to very small plant having very soft stem. Inflorescence. Inflorescence is arrangement of flowers on the floral axis or on the branch of a flower, branch of a plant. Leaf. Leaf is a flattened green structure which usually arises as lateral appendage from the stem or from the branch, especially in the nodes. Mesophytes. The plants that grow in the habitats where there is moderate condition is termed as mesophyte. Monocarpic. The plant which produces flowers and fruits only once in its lifetime is known as monocarpic. Usually the term carp refers to fruit. Mono is single. Monocarpic means the plant body that produces flowers and fruits only once in its lifetime. So the best example for this monocarpic plant is bamboo. Bamboo usually produces flowers as well as fruits only once in its lifetime. Parthenocarpic fruit. A fruit which is developed without fertilization is termed as parthenocarpic fruit. Usually fruits are formed after fertilization in flowers. Okay, but there are certain kinds of fruits that can be formed even without fertilization, and such a fruit formed without fertilization is known as parthenocarpic fruit. So best example for parthenocarpic fruit is banana. Perianth. The part of a flower where calyx and corolla are fused together to form a whorl known as perianth. So such kind of whorl can be seen in flowers like lily. Placentation. Arrangement of ovules inside the ovary is known as placentation. Phyllotaxy. Arrangement of leaves on the branch of stem is known as phyllotaxy. Pollen or pollen grains. Pollen or pollen grains are the microspores of the plants produced in large numbers that are mainly released from the anthers of stamens. Seeds. The structure that develops from the ovule after fertilization in case of angiosperms or gymnosperms is known as seed. Shrub. A medium-sized plant having branches which arise from the base of the stem or from the soil is known as shrub. Syncarpous ovary. So it is an ovary having many carpels, but all those carpels are fused together. So it is termed as syncarpous. Tendril. A slender but spirally coiled structure that helps the plant body to give additional support or to climb on the supportive plant. Apocarpous ovary. Ovary where there are many carpels but that carpels are not fused. So remember these two terminologies, apocarpous and syncarpous ovary. Apocarpous ovary, where ovary has many carpels but they are not united or they are not fused. Syncarpous is ovary has many carpels, they are all fused. Next. So we have discussed all these parts. So we'll study with the help of diagrammatic representation in your regular classes.